Once upon a time, in a very quiet village in the east, lived a girl named Adaeze. Adaeze was by far the most beautiful maiden in the village. Her sparkling eyes and spotless skin made her the envy of many, as most girls of the village wanted to be like her. Adaeze was an orphan who lived with her stepmother Nneka, who was envious of her unparalleled beauty. One day, her stepmother Nneka, consumed by her jealousy, sought the help of an evil juju priest. She requested that a curse be placed upon Adaeze, and the juju priest whispered incantations that brought misfortune upon the beautiful maiden Adaeze. From that day, whenever Adaeze touched water, it would transform into blood. Adaeze began to live a life of misery as water became her worst enemy. Whenever she went to the stream to fetch some water, the river turned into blood, and this made Adaeze dread the sight of water. One day, her stepmother Nneka sent her to go fetch some water from the stream. Adaeze was so terrified as she had no idea how she would be able to fetch the water when the river always turned into blood. She sat close to the river bank crying when a very handsome man crossed her path. His name was Nana, and he asked why a beautiful girl like Adaeze was sitting all alone by the stream. Adaeze narrated her ordeal to Nana, and he volunteered to help her fetch the water, and he carried it home for her. They spent time talking and getting to know each other as they journeyed back to Adaeze's home from the stream. The villagers, however, were still unaware of the curse that plagued Adaeze. One day, Nana asked Adaeze to marry him, and Adaeze was so excited. However, her excitement was cut short by the fact that every maiden set to marry had to perform a traditional dance in the river. The thought of this terrified Adaeze, who wondered how she would be able to perform the dance in front of the whole village without the river turning into blood. Adaeze voiced her concerns to Nana, who assured her that everything was going to be fine. Nana's uncle was a powerful man with great powers, so Nana took Adaeze to go see his uncle, who did some incantations to break the blood curse that plagued her life. After the curse was broken, he handed a calabash of water to her, and when Adaeze touched the calabash, she noticed that the water did not turn into blood. This was the first time in months that Adaeze was not plagued by the blood curse. She rushed home excited and informed her stepmother of Nana's decision to marry her. Preparations began for the grand ceremony, and Adaeze could not wait to spend her life with the man she loved so much. The day of the ceremony arrived, and time had come for Adaeze to perform the river dance. She was so excited that the curse had been broken, so she stepped into the river majestically and noticed that the river did not turn into blood. Adaeze began to dance, and her dance style mesmerized the villagers who were looking at her in admiration. She was engulfed in her dance when she suddenly heard the villagers scream in terror. Adaeze opened her eyes and noticed that she was dancing in a pool of blood. Everyone ran in fear as they could not understand what was going on. They began to call her cursed as they could not believe how she turned the village stream into blood. Witch, 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 the people chanted as Adaeze ran away from the village for her dear life. She ran into the forest as she could not face the villagers or even think of what they would do to her if they had caught her. The last woman that was said to be a witch in the village was burnt on a stick, and Adaeze could not risk being lynched by the villagers and burnt on a stick. Adaeze wandered alone in the forest and came across a wounded deer struggling for its life. Filled with compassion, Adaeze helped the deer nurse its wounds. As she hovered her hand over the deer's wound, she felt a surge of energy fill her body. The wound seemed to heal miraculously, and before Adaeze could understand what was going on, the deer had run into the depths of the forest, leaving Adaeze bemused. For days, Adaeze wandered the forest alone. She had no one to talk to, so she sought solace in her melodies. Adaeze sang beautifully, and her melodies filled her with hope that one day her curse would be broken and that she would be able to return to her village once again. Meanwhile, back in the village, a great calamity befell the whole village as the people were plagued with a weird form of madness which only occurred at night. All the villagers ran mad at night and roamed the streets of the village, but this madness waned by sunrise, and all the people regained their sanity and were confused as to why they found themselves roaming the streets at sunrise. They consulted the gods of the land, who told them about the plague of madness that had befallen all the inhabitants of the village. Everyone began to panic as they had no idea how they could break the curse. Even the chief priest of the village was also affected by the plague of madness, and this troubled the people, who wondered what they had done wrong to attract the plague upon their village. One morning, after the villagers regained their sanity, the king noticed that his son was nowhere to be found. The king's guards combed the whole village, but still Prince Obum could not be found anywhere. His disappearance troubled the royal household, especially the king, who hoped and prayed that nothing bad had befallen his crowned prince. For days, the guards moved from one corner of the village to the other, searching for the prince, but their search only lasted for as long as the sun was up, as sunset brought with it the plague of madness. One evening, as the villagers awaited sunset dreadfully, Prince Obum and Adaeze emerged from inside the forest. Prince Obum had wandered off into the forest on the day that he went missing and stumbled upon Adaeze, who took good care of him in the forest. They decided to return back to the village as Obum had something important to tell his father, the king. However, when the people saw Prince Obum and Adaeze walking hand in hand that evening, they were terrified as they remembered how Adaeze turned water into blood at her marriage ceremony. The king, unsure of what to do, ordered for the arrest of Adaeze, saying that her blood curse could have triggered the plague of madness that they were battling with currently. As the guards got hold of Adaeze and was about locking her up in the palace dungeon, the plague of madness began, and everyone in the village ran mad, including the king and his guards. Adaeze then decided to run away and go into hiding, as she could not risk being locked up by the king and accused of being a witch. Prince Obum at this point noticed that the plague of madness no longer affected him, as he was the only one sane in the midst of the villagers who were all mad. He went in search of Adaeze in the palace dungeon, but realized that she had escaped. Prince Obum searched everywhere he knew she would be, but Adaeze was nowhere to be found. By sunrise, the king and the other villagers regained their sanity and noticed that the plague of madness no longer affected Prince Obum. The king asked his son, the prince, how he was able to break the plague of madness, and the prince revealed that Adaize's healing hands took away the madness from him, and the king opened his mouth in shock. The king regretted ever trying to arrest Adaize and calling her a witch, so he asked his son where he could find Adaize, and his son revealed that he had searched everywhere for her, but she was nowhere to be found. The king then sent his guards in search of Adaize, and they combed the whole village for her, but she was nowhere to be found. For days, the king's guards searched relentlessly, but their search was futile. The king then ordered for Adaize's family to be brought before him, and her stepmother, as well as Adaize's sister, appeared before the king, who asked where they believed Adaize would be in a time like this. Her stepmother had no idea where she would be, but her sister revealed that she had an idea of where Adaize could have gone. On this day every year, Adaize usually visits her mother's grave as a way of remembering her late mother, who died on this day many years ago. The king and everyone with him headed straight for Adaize's mother's graveside. There they met Adaize in tears, pleading for her late mother's spirit to save her. The king then called out to Adaize, saying that she should not be afraid. He apologized for all that they had done to her and pleaded for her to heal them of the plague of madness. Adaize, filled with compassion, stretched forth her hands towards the king, and a bright light illuminated from her hands and healed the king. She also did same for her sister and the people around, and time now came for her to heal her stepmother, but her stepmother refused her healing. This was shocking to everyone, as they could not understand why Adaize's stepmother would stop Adaize from healing her. So the king asked why she refused the healing, and her stepmother, out of fear, revealed to the king all that had happened. She confessed that she was the one behind Adaize's blood curse, and that before the juju man accepted to place the curse on Adaize, he told her that the day she would ever accept Adaize's help in her life, that she would die instantly. Adaize's stepmother revealed that she agreed, as she never knew that a day would come when she would need Adaize's help. She also went on to confess that she paid Nana, the man that came forward earlier to marry Adaize, to help her disgrace Adaize in front of the whole village. The proposed marriage and everything that happened with Nana was her plan all along, to destroy Adaize's life, as she hated her so much. Adaize, on hearing this, broke down in tears, as she could not understand why her stepmother hated her this much. The king was also furious to hear all that Adaize's stepmother had said, so he banished her out of the village and warned her never to set her foot into their village again. That was how Adaize's stepmother left the village with the plague of madness, which continued to make her mad at night all through her years. The whole village then apologized to Adaize for all they did to her, and she lived in the village peacefully and became good friends with the prince of the village. The lesson to be learned from this story is that evil has a way of backfiring. Do not plan evil for people, as that might be the end for you too. Never look down on anyone in life, as that person you believe you would never need might be the only savior for you in your time of need. Treat people with kindness and respect always, as that is the right thing to do. I hope you enjoyed the story.
Like, subscribe and leave a comment. It helps us grow our channel. I'll see you in our next story.
Bye.